Hey YouTube, just a short, maybe a short one. Today we went out for a bike ride. Bikes are really dirty. That's more or less from chain lube. It's a little dusty out there. God, get this thing ready for a change. So, upcoming videos. We will be doing a video on changing to 180 millimeter rotors sometime in the beginning or the end of next week, I would think, or this week. Nope, next week. Sorry. Um, we're going to put 180 millimeter rotors. Since I wasn't completely sure if they'd fit on the front, I bought adapters. If I don't need to use them, I'll just send them back. I bought them on Amazon. Uh, can't be any worse than the ones that are on it. These Tektro ones are looking at the bikes. I was thinking those rotors were on backwards, but I guess they're okay. So we'll be doing a video on replacing both rotors on both bikes. Comes down to it, the back rotors are definitely too small, and we've looked at the adapters in my previous videos. They're 160, 180 adapters, and on the front it says 140, 160. Well, they're still not right. Um, they're still not tall enough. The pad should not contact the outside edge of the rotor. There should be a little space there where it doesn't contact it. So we're going to put 180 millimeter rotors on both. We're not going to change the pads. They're going to still be fine. They'll have to break in again. But to bring up that, I used a semi-metallic pad this time. What comes on the Tektro is a resin pad, and the resin tends to glaze over, and you lose, especially on the back, you're going to lose a lot of braking power. So these are night and day. The back brake went from barely usable to being able to stop the bike in a reasonable amount. Still not as powerful as the front brake, but it's probably 75% of the front brake. So they stop the bikes. I can use just the back brake to stop the bike if unless I need to do it quickly. Pull both brakes at the same time, you're going to stop within a few feet. Um, so it did make a difference. Um, so I bought the ones I bought were Xeon pads. They're all probably made by the same Chinese manufacturer. It's just a matter of who's selling them. I got four sets of pads, enough to do both bikes for $10. Now I got over 2,000, 2,300 and some miles out of my old pads. But what happened was I started noticing the back pad wasn't working at all anymore. There was still plenty of pad material left, but the problem was it was so glazed over at that point that it wasn't able to provide enough friction to make the bike stop. So I didn't do anything to the rotors. I just put the pads on, and it stops lickety split now. No other way to put it. Much better than it was before. Even before, just using the front and the brake would still take a bit to stop, but now there's quite a bit of difference. So if you're on the fence about changing your brake pads, I wouldn't. I'd jump off the fence and go buy some. Don't buy a semi-metallic pad. Now, some of the bike rotors say not built for semi-metallic pads, but the Tektro ones should be fine if you don't want to change them. And if you decide you're going to change your rotors to 180 millimeter, and make sure that they say that they're compatible with semi-metallic pads or ceramic metallic pads. Um, They make both. The ceramic metallic are high-end stuff. If you really want to spend the money for them, you could get them. But semi-metallic, these have copper in them. Uh, the copper will not stick to steel, so in the end, it makes the pad a little more abrasive. Uh, and so we got rotors. Sometime at the beginning of the week, I'll be putting new seat clamps on there. These still are allowing the seats to do it. I did the fix that came with it worked fine. Uh, the seat post didn't move, but Karen kept on catching her clothing on the bolt that was sticking through, so I just put these back on. And I bought some they're from Bontrager, which you would find on trekbikes.com, and they're 39.85. So they're a slight, not even a hair's thickness difference in diameter. So they'll fit on here just fine. And they're better quality. Hopefully they're a whole lot better quality, and we'll be putting those on at the beginning of the week, and then we're doing brake pads, and then in the future, sometime in the next couple of months, I'm hoping, depending on money, because no one's sponsoring these things, I will be upgrading both bikes to 9-speed. I'm not going to buy a derailleur right away, but we're going to see if this derailleur will index a 9-speed chain. The problem is the 9-speed chain is much thinner, 11 128, which is, I don't know, less than an eighth, I guess. Chain, so it may not work on these. The half-inch part is the same, but the width of the chain is much narrower. So we'll see if it will work. I'm almost positive it'll work with these chain ring, because the teeth are pretty thin as it is. So and it's like I said, it's the half-inch. So we'll be changing to a rapid fire type shifter. I don't know if I'm getting Shimano. It depends on what's available. 9-speed chain and a 9-speed freewheel. They even make 10 and 11 speed if you're looking, but I don't think it's going to fit on. A 10 speed will fit on here. It might. The width, it should fit. Let's just put it that way. It should fit, but I'm going 9-speed. I don't want to spend the money to go higher than that. So we're going to go 9-speed freewheels, 9-speed chain, 9-speed shifter. Looked it up, from roughly $70 to do the upgrades, and we'll be doing that. Karen said she won't use the gears, but yeah, she will. She just doesn't realize it, because it'll put more available gears where she's currently using. Right now she's using 2 gears, 6th, 7th, maybe 5th. Now she'll have a 4th that's usable, a 5th, a 6th, a 7th, 8th, and a 9th, because the gear ratio is tighter at the bottom than it is. It's only a 13, but 13, here to give you some idea, to turn a 13 by 52 inch tooth, so 13 on the back, 52 on the front, to turn it to 28 miles an hour requires about 100 RPMs, somewhere in that range, 97, something like that, RPMs, which is completely doable. People get this cadence in their head that they can only turn it so fast, when in actuality, if their seat height is right and the bike fits them well, they have no problems turning 100 RPMs without spending loads of money. You could probably do it with the stock gearing. 14, I think it's 105 RPMs for the stock setup to get 28 miles an hour. After that, you're wasting your money. If you're buying too tall of a gear, all you're doing is getting to 28 miles an hour. And unless you're going down a hill, you're not going to pedal much faster than that. The problem is the motor cuts power at 28 miles an hour, and there's no way around it. It gets there, it cuts the power, and it's like dragging a brick. So keep that in mind. So I'm not going to upgrade the chain wheels at this time, but in the future, I might go to a more expensive one. But I'm not at this point ready to change them. They work. That's all that counts. This is as far as I can turn my head. The rest of the bike, I don't see a point in upgrading. I'm not going to do a shock. If I want a bike that has a shock, I'll buy a bike with a shock on it. But I'm not going to upgrade this. So you guys, unless somebody sends me a shock to try, you won't see it. And quite frankly, the ones that Lectric sells, I wouldn't put on here anyway. There's not enough travel. And that's said and done. For me, there's not enough travel. Maybe for the casual rider, if I put a shock on it, I'm going to expect to be able to go off-road. And I just went down a little grassy hill because I seen a cell phone laying in the river, and I was thinking, well, I'll go recover it. And I got down there, and the back off of the cell phone was completely gone. So I just pulled it out of the river and set it on the table to dry out. Maybe somebody didn't want to get wet and they could see it there and come and get it. And I could not get that bike, even in fourth gear, to pedal up a little incline on the grass. It wasn't spinning or anything, it just did not have the power to pull it up that little incline. So that's one of the reasons we're considering a mid-drive bike, just for the extra power for when we travel out west and we're going to, these are going in the RV, so we're not sure if we buy another bike, if it'll probably just stay home all the time, but it'll be for our daily rides. Something with a normal set of tires, 27.5s by 3s or 2.5s, something in the normal size range that don't cost you an arm and a leg to replace, where tubes are a dime a dozen for them, and that's why we're doing it. I have to do, I'm thinking I might do the motor maintenance on my bike soon too. Been promising video for a long time for that, but it's just a matter of pulling the screws on, pushing the motor, this side of the motor out on a piece of wood. Pretty easy to do. And then putting grease in on the pinion gears, and looking at the whether they've shown significant wear, and at that point I'll be able to give you an estimate of how long they'll last. But there's plenty of people that got 5,000 miles on them and haven't done a single thing to the motor. But I know for some reason factories think grease is really expensive, so they don't use much of it. So I'm going to do some maintenance on my motor. It's required on a mid-drive too, even more often than it is on a hub drive. But none of this is rocket science, folks. You can fix this bike easily. These brakes, I really think that in my case that it makes a sense to do the upgrade, so we're going to do the upgrade and add braking stopping power to it, and put on this bike what should have been put on it from the factory, 180 millimeters. The frame was built for 180 millimeters, and they used they should have put a 140/160 adapter on the back of this, but they didn't. So we have we're touching most of the pad, but there's like a 1/8 inch to a 1/4 inch that's not even touching the rotors, and her bike is worse than my bike, but still, we're still talking, it's not right, and they should have made it right. Bikes could use a good cleaning, but I ain't gonna do that today. So I'm gonna go into call this a video. Just talked about upcoming plans for electric upgrades. Once I get the rotor is upgraded and the gear train, I'm through. There's nothing else I need to do to this bike to make it where I want it. Not for the money anyway. It's not worth putting a lot of money into it. If anything, if I was going to do anything to the wheels, I would rebuild them using a standard 20 inch rim and put standard 20-inch tires on it. I don't think I'd go fat again. They're good, but the rolling resistance is quite a bit different from a stock tire. Even a smooth 4-inch tire is still going to have more rolling resistance than a 1.75 or a 2-inch. It might look kind of funny, but the spacing on the axles would be the same, so I would just rebuild these wheels with a different rim on it. Whether you guys know this bike is specifically built for a 20-inch wheel, but that one, actually, you could put a 16-inch wheel on. There's a hole in the back of the bike that has a spot for a through axle. Why they did that? Maybe it was just something they had. That was the only part they could find to weld on the back of that, but you could actually put a smaller tire on there. So when I do the rotor on Karen's, we'll be replacing the back tire with one of the front one off this bike, and I'm going to have to start shopping for bike tires for my bike, because I do believe they are just about done. Almost. Might have another couple 100 miles in them, but I doubt it. And I'm at 2,400 miles right now, so that would mean I put them on at 1,209 miles, so they just barely have 1,200 miles on them. And I had to rotate them to get that 1,200 miles. Karen's has 1,201 miles on it, and she really could go another couple 100 miles on these tires. So we'll be putting the other one on it just so, because the weather's starting to get a little different. If she goes out and rides and it gets muddy, she'll have better traction with a different tire on it. But okay. And then I'm pretty sure in the next couple months you'll be seeing us riding other bikes too. Don't worry, I won't give up on electric, but I might give you guys some ideas on different bikes that might be suitable. Like I said, I don't have any sponsors, so when I buy a different bike, it'll be my money, and I won't get a discount because I won't even ask for a discount, and I will. So you'll get an honest review. I didn't get any discounts on this. I could have asked for a veteran discount and didn't. So I've chattered enough. So have a great day. Get out and ride your bike. Weather should never be anything that stops you. It is always a good bike day. Have a great day.